all my life. I lived in a family of 5. My mother, my dad, and I'm in the middle of 2 sisters. And I've known nothing about my ancestries, my grandparents, uncles, aunts, and recently had a DNA test done, and my friend Marcia has helped me tremendously. Enough of the beginning, so Marcia, you can start at the grocery store.
Oh, okay. It was a good day. I was with Bill and I saw Jack, and I'd never forgotten the first time that you told me that you really never knew anything about your parents, and that you really thought they must have been in the witness protection program. So I never forgot that. And I encouraged Jack to get his DNA done, and so it took 6 weeks. 6 weeks to get it back. When Jack sent it over to me, I was determined that I wasn't going to open it, and that we were going to do that together. And then I said to Jack, when we were just about sitting like this, you know, we never know what we're going to see or find or where this is going to take us. And we were both on agreement with that. So that was the real start of this. When we opened it up, we didn't see the stone name one time.
That's right.
And but it was, he had a couple very good matches right at the start. So the next group of matches was for another generation, and they had excellent trees. So those were the trees that I used with the names, and the first names that came up were Lewis and Woodward, came up the strongest. But the Lewis name was the name that we took for Jack's father's mother. And we discovered that later. Everybody has a parent, a mother and a father, and each of those people had a mother and a father. So that's 4 grandparents. We all have 4 grandparents. And so I had 2 names right away. I had the Lewis name, and actually I didn't have both the names. The way that genetic genealogy works is the opposite of building a family tree. If you want to start genealogy and build your family tree, you start with yourself and your parents and their parents, which gives you 4 grandparents and 4 different names. But when you do genetic genealogy, and as we discovered, there was not, the stone name was not in any of the matches, you have to start at the top of the best match that will give you a tree, and these matches have to match. So the very best matches were not any help at all, the closest to him with DNA. But we moved to another generation back, which is very typical, and those people turn out to be Jack's second cousins, had perfect trees. And right away I was able to determine that Lewis was one of his grandparents, that was a grandparent name. So once I saw that name, I went under the radar and got quiet for a while and put together some trees. I created a tree called the Gordon County People Tree. And I think that's something that Jack could share with anybody that wants to see it and look at it. Jack had said that his father said that he was born in Gordon County, Georgia, and sure enough, these folks that were coming up were all living in Gordon County, Georgia. And so we were able to determine all of the Lewis family of the siblings in a line that would have had Jack's grandmother. And when Jack brought over his information that his mother had filed, I'm incorrect on that, his father had filed for Social Security, sure enough, there was his grandmother's name on that form, Thelba Lewis. And I already had her in the tree, I just didn't know which one it was. And I had kind of stopped to wait and to think a lot, and it worked. It worked perfectly. But also then, all I had to do was look and see who Thelba Lewis had married. And she married Charlie Cooper. So from there, I was able to see where they were in 1910 with their family. and they had four children in 1900. In fact, I just found their marriage license information, and I hadn't even told you that yet today.
Right.
But they were married in 1901. So the 1900 census, they were each living separately. 1910 is an excellent census. It's my favorite census. It gives how long you've been married as a couple, how old you were, how many children the woman had, and how many were living at that time. It's just a beautiful census, especially because the 1890 census was destroyed in a fire. So that way you can find, perhaps there might be other siblings out there that never made it to a census. They might have died young or got married and lost the name, the maiden name. So anyway, on that 1910, I saw 4 children. In 1920, I believe there were 5. And it was like you said, there were several boys. So we're still thinking about Roy, and there was a Roy on this census. And the age didn't work because Jack knew his father was born in 1906. He had told you, Gordon County, born 1906. And there was another entry right under Roy that said Lois. And I really didn't look at that real well, but it said son. And I saw Lois and kept going thinking female. 1920 pops up and it says son, for Lois is now turned into Lois. And remember now, I have put together that this is the couple, this married couple, Charlie and Falba. Falby is what she is in some places. So when I saw Lois's name, I put it in again, and it came up on the 1930 census. And he was married and living in Alabama, in DeKalb County, Alabama, which is the Fort Payne area, I believe. Or by Fort Payne. And so he was married to a woman named Rosa Williams. And that marriage license is at Ancestry.com. So the best I could put things together, in 1940 we pick up where you were on the census as a very young child. And on that 1940 census it says, where were you living 5 years ago? And the response was, same place, which is, yes. But we're not real sure about that. Okay. Because of Rosa's, I'm sorry, not Rosa, trying to do a parallel line here and trying to stay on the same place though. And then 1950, you folks are still, now by this time you're in Rennes? Were you in Rennes in 1950, or do I have it backwards? It was Rennes first and then Warren County.
Rennes and
correct?
Then Warrenton.
Yes, yes. So now we had found, Jack, we found your mother, I found her pretty easily through the DNA matches that were coming up. Nothing came up for Maudine.
Right.
And, but she had a family that came up, once again, going back another generation, and those names were Fuller and Smith. A Smith married a Fuller, and they all became Smiths. And I'm thinking, oh, great. The end of the line was Smiths. We had that and Johnson. And, but it was all good. It all worked out. And when I went through it, I saw a Myrtle I own, and the name, evidently the census taker had trouble with it, but I got it straightened out. And I pretty much did the same thing with your mother as I did with your father, and I found that she was living with her parents. She was born 1917. 17. That's right. And so 1920, she's with her parents, Wallace and Fanny.
Right.
Smith. And in 1930, she's still with them. And then in 1940, she's in Rennes.
In Rennes.
Right. So we have missing years, and Jack and I wondered about those missing years. And I did find that she was Myrtle Ione, and I believe she went by Ione. And I saw a person on, and it's in the tree now. We can take pictures from other people's trees. Beautiful woman, just really beautiful. And I was so tickled to find those pictures, and there really is a lot of information about them once you know what you're looking for. But I want to tell you how I found that.
Okay.
How that was the missing piece about how Maudine and Roy
Stone.
Right. One night, I woke up in the night, and I just couldn't get back to sleep, so I flipped back to my mail and the Ancestry website, and I had a little note in my mailbox. And it was from Valerie. And she had taken a picture of Lois Cooper, and she said, "Do you know who this is?" or something to that. She said, "Do you know this person?" And I said, I said, "Yes. I am working I am helping his son find his family." That's what I said back to her, but that was my missing piece. And you know, what's really funny about this is I get goosebumps because I always know pretty much when I've got that piece. I always know, and it goes real fast after that, and I didn't communicate with you for a couple days at all.
Right.
Because it was all falling into place so beautifully. and it happens like that almost every single time, once we get it. So anyway, this Valerie's been a wonderful help. The amazing thing about when I opened up my laptop in the middle of the night, and I closed it, I went back to sleep. That was the most surprising thing, really, because usually that kind of stuff is like, oh, gonna do an all-nighter now. But I went right back to sleep because I knew that was the missing piece, and I've done enough of these to know that I could finish that up probably very quickly. And it did all fall into place because of Valerie's sending that. And she told me that Ione's aunts and cousins never stopped looking for your mother. And since then we have found out, would you like to share some of that?
Oh, you go ahead.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That what happened was that Maudine and Roy that chose those names for their alias. And I stumble over it because I go back in time then and to a land long ago and far away, and they're Lois and Ione. So I kind of go back and forth in my mind, but it's confusing to say it out loud. But at that point, she was Ione. I had found her marriage. It was with Charlie Plunkett. And I had found Charlie Plunkett in 1940 in Atlanta in the United States Penitentiary. So that right there was a flag to me that that could be a reason why she left. And they were together, that Roy and now Maudine were together. But then Valerie, who is Jack's second cousin, told us about this situation, and that he was very violent, and that he did commit a crime serious enough then to go to the penitentiary. The way I'm seeing it is that Lois really rescued Ione from this situation. He left a family of a wife and 2 children, and she left with Joanne. And so evidently she had a child, and we've pretty much come to the agreement, and we'll find out later the rest of the story.
Right. I have a niece having her DNA done, and we will be able to find more about her grandfather.
Yes. So it pretty much followed what I had suspected, and the story pretty much from there turned out how I thought it did. But evidently, somewhere along the line, they created a new alias. I have a friend that's a retired attorney. He worked for the U.S. Census, and he said that back at that time, back in the 30s, which would have been in the 30s,
Right.
You didn't need any legal papers or anything to present in court to change your name. That you could just change your name. Now we have a number, a social security number, so we can't change our name unless we do it through the courts to keep that number, that important Social Security number. So they just decided between the two of them that those were the names they were going to take. So as a real interesting thing, when I came to a place I could move off and investigate, go back to Maudine's life as Ione, when I'm under the suspicion that Ione and Lois knew each other, because Valerie sent us that 1930 census and her family was on there, who is related to Ione's, the Lewis, through the Lewis family. So I have to feel like Lois probably got acquainted with her, with these neighbors they had, because they were on the census very near Valerie's family. When I had some time, I went back and looked back at Lois's family when he was married to Rosa. In 1940, Rosa is living with her parents again with 2 children. And here we go. Here's the rest of the story. This took all the wonder and mystery out of everything. She named her first daughter Rachel Maudine Cooper. So when Ione and Lois decided to take an alias, Ione took the name Maudine from the child that Rosa had. That's what makes me think they all knew each other. Also, this just as a side note, almost every single one of these things I have done to help people, I have found out that somebody knew something. Somebody always knows something. So I just really would give Valerie real kudos for she's just been so jumped right in, and she's been real good. She always responds when we ask her something, and
she really has. She's been communicating with my daughter, who was very interested in this. Yeah. Good.
So I've never done a search for someone, a genetic search, that it turned out it was alias, that his family used an alias. That's a first for me. But what I think is so interesting is that all of the DNA, once we found the Coopers, then Jack is still a Cooper, and the DNA, it was just a name change. We can change our first names now. When women get married, we change our name. That's all it was a name change. It wasn't like a surprise that you found out your biological father wasn't your birth certificate, or you found out your birth certificate father wasn't. It wasn't anything like that.
All right.
Yeah.
That happens. Yeah.
Yes, it does. And so, to me, it's just a beautiful story. I really enjoyed it, and I always have a few days that I feel like, this is over now. But I think we have a few things to look forward to yet.
I do too. Yeah, I think there's more to look forward to.
It'll be fun.
It will
be fun.
Yeah.
So it's nice to have some things like this to kind of look forward to. And we've met so many people.
Yes, we have. Yeah, interesting, and they are interested.
They are.
There's a world of people, I think, hopefully will see this, that are also interested in it from our own side of the family.
Right.
And from Lois' side of the family too, if we can wake them up and find them. Yeah.
Right. I was going to mention that. So Lois's father, his mother was by a woman named Rebecca McIntyre. And that tree goes back, that line in Ancestry and on Family Search goes back quite a ways, and it's very interesting. So I would think when, Jack, you look at your DNA and you see Scottish, I tend to think that is Scottish. That would certainly be the Scottish part, the McIntyre. But that's how I found that I knew for sure I had the right Cooper, was that I dug through your matches with that McIntyre name. There's a place to search on your matches page, and so I put in McIntyre, and up came a fella by the name of Mike Poole, and he had a McIntyre ancestor, and it went right back to the same one that Rebecca McIntyre had. So that's how I knew then we had the Coopers, we had them right, and it opened up a whole nother branch. Also, I have found 2 American Revolutionary War patriots. I look at so many, but I'm pretty sure I found for sure the one at DAR that it's being used. That
Okay.
patriot is being used at DAR. There's some, it looks like War of 1812 for one, and it looks like French and Indian Wars might be one also. That there was, they have the names. And I think if we look back far enough, we start getting to the Marquis de such and such and things like that, and I'm pretty much done.
Okay. All right. We'll probably follow up with this with some more of the information.
Sure.
But right now we're going to see what we've got and see how we can put this together as a presentation. Thank you for watching thus far.
Bye.
Bye-bye.